Hi there, I'm Dr. Bosh P. Jordan Jr., pastor and founder of Hope Alive Outreach, and welcome to the Hope Doctor Speaks. I'm the Hope Doctor. And remember, no matter what's going on with you today, there is hope for you. We've got a great show lined up for you today. We have one of my dear friends from Boca Raton, Florida. Elizabeth is going to be here with us. And also our co-host. Where's our co-host? Clay, he's here. Where's Clay? Let me see if I can bring him. There he is.
I am. How you doing?
All right, Clay, how you doing? All right. Good to see you. Now, you know that we're on every first Wednesday at this time at 6 p.m. And our mission is to give hope to persons, especially those who suffer from the disease of addiction, primarily drugs and alcohol. If you'd like to get in contact with me, you can give me a call. The telephone number is right behind me at 443-250-9635. That's 443-250-9635. Even though that's a Baltimore number, no matter where I am, I can get your call. If you're concerned about getting into recovery, getting into treatment, detox, or whatever, you can give me a call, and I'll do my best to help you. Now, I have a book out that's entitled The Pipe and the Pulpit. We do hope and pray that if you have not seen it, that you'll get it, The Pipe and the Pulpit. And I'll be running a special this month. Normally it's $11.95, but we're running a special this month for persons who like to get it for $7.95. And you can Cash App me at the number on your screen, or you can send it to our post office box address. There it is. Post office box 35427, St. Petersburg, Florida 35427. So if you want to get in recovery, you want to get into treatment, you want to find out more about it, that's the reason why we are here today. And I thank God for our co-hosts. And also right now, I want to introduce to some, present to others, none other than my dear friend from Boca Raton, Florida, Elizabeth. Hi, Liz.
Hi, thank you, Basha.
All right.
Welcome.
Thank you, Clay.
Glad to have you today. Now, you know that our broadcast is geared toward giving people hope who suffer from the disease of addiction, who individuals who are where some of us used to be. And seeing that you are, I met you in Baltimore. Do you remember when we met, Liz?
1996.
How is it that you can go to that year so quickly?
That's my clean date, 1996.
Yes, I remember. And that was 24 years ago?
24 years ago. Yep, 24 years ago. That's how long we've been friends.
And I can remember one thing that I will always remember about you, Elizabeth. You know what that was?
I was always smiling.
You were wild and crazy.
That too.
You remember that, right?
Of course, I couldn't sit still.
Sure. Yeah, you were what? Well, why don't we just share with the listening audience a little bit about how you came into recovery and how you have sustained yourself, some of the things that have happened to you, and to give some people some hope. And if you want to share a little bit about the difference in recovery in Baltimore, in Maryland, and in Florida, you can do that. And Clay and I will just kind of like encapsulate you with some questions and some comments. And those who are in our listening audience on Facebook and also on YouTube, if you want to give some comments, just shoot the comments in, and our producer will try to get those to us so we can answer them. Okay, go ahead, Liz. You're on.
Thanks, Basha. Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth. So I met Basha, as he said, when I was 19 years old. I went to the Liberty Crossing home group of Narcotics Anonymous in Baltimore, Maryland. At that time, everyone else was graduating from high school and everybody else was going to college. And I was still getting high with like the same people that I was getting high with when I was 14 years old, and I saw all these people moving on with their lives and all these people doing different things with their lives. And I just saw like my whole life go like full circle to the fact that I had just done nothing with my life. And I wanted to graduate from college one day. I wanted something to have one day. Like I wanted, more for myself than to be a junkie. But being a junkie was the only thing that I knew. When I picked up when I was young, I remember the first time I had ever picked up, it was the feeling I wanted my whole life. While I was high, I wasn't in pain. I was numb. I didn't like cry. I felt accepted. I felt like Superwoman, and those were like the things like I had always hoped for, the feelings that I had always wanted to feel. And so when I picked up, I was in love right away. And it was the feeling that I wanted for the rest of my life. And moving 24 years later in recovery, I can tell you that I feel like Superwoman now in recovery, way better than I ever did when I was getting high.
What's the difference between the Superwoman of 1996 when you were using to the Superwoman of 2020?
The Superwoman back then was false. Like it was what I surrounded myself with what I thought was Superwoman. I got in trouble once. Okay. So I was in front of the judge, and the judge asked me how I was doing, and I made a funny remark to the judge, maybe used a few curse words to the judge, and I had always behaved when I was on house arrest, and I proceeded to be an ass to a judge. And so then when I proceeded to get locked up, I thought Superwoman back then was being the coolest person in the detention center. I was a writer, so I could write raps, I could write rhymes. All the girls used to want to braid my hair. And I thought that was being a Superwoman, was getting like negative attention, but it was still getting attention. Now, 24 years later, being Superwoman means I give back to the community. I give back in service. I make a difference. I contribute to society. I'm self-supporting through my own contributions. It means I have like my own life, my own freedom, so there's big difference. Back then Superwoman is false. Today it's built on substance. So that's the big difference today.
What would you say? What would you say has been the greatest thing that has happened to you so that your Superwoman of today is more refined, more dignified, more cultured, more professional?
I think things through today. When I was younger, I used to react to everything. I blamed a lot and I was victim a lot. Today I'm empowered. Like I'm in victim mode. I'm no longer stuck in that triangle of self-obsession or like the poor me or the why me. It's like that little girl inside of me that was always so hurt, has healed. And so it's like I now have all of this power and I contribute back to society.
Do you mind sharing with the listening audience what you do? You don't have to tell us where you do it, but you are a professional woman, Clay's a professional man, I'm a professional. But what do you do today?
Well, currently I'm a grant writer and I have a grant writing business. I'm actually in the process of opening up a recovery high school in South Florida, and it's going to be called the Gratitude Academy. It's a nonprofit organization for adolescents that go to treatment. And then after they get out of treatment, instead of going back to their regular high school, they're going to be going to the Gratitude Academy. And it's going to be a regular accredited high school. And at that high school, they're going to be getting recovery, 12-step meetings. They're going to be getting the fellowship, and they're going to be getting recovery coaching as well as top of the line teachers. And so that's what I'm giving back now to society, because all of my problems stem from the time I was in high school, and I kept getting expelled from high school because I kept doing drugs. I was really smart academically. So this is the school model. It's going to be accredited by the National Association for Recovery High Schools, and it's my newest way to give back, and it's going to open in January 2021.
Wow,
and
congratulations.
It's being needed here in South Florida. Like, we need it.
That's a tremendous vision, isn't it, Clay?
Yeah, congratulations.
First time I've ever heard of that, a recovery high school.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine that's in the program here. We met. He's got 15 years sober, and him and I are working together to form the school.
So you're going to be the principal, or will you be like a counselor, or what?
No, I'm doing the academic side. So yes, I'll be more of the principal. And then my business partner, he's going to be doing the recovery aspect of the school because all of my degrees are in education.
You know, I was reading earlier in the Just for the Day, and individuals who are in recovery, they know what Just for the Day is. It's a daily meditation, okay? And based upon what you just said, I want to just read this for Just for the Day for July 1, a simple program. The program is simply sharing, working the 12 steps, attending meetings, and practicing the principles of the program. Our complicated lives can be made a lot less complicated if we concentrate on a few simple things: sharing our experience, strength, and hope with others, regular meeting attendance, and practicing the principles of the program in our daily lives. That's what you're doing, Elizabeth. You are sharing your experiences, sharing your hopes and all. So I got it. A little technical difficulty here. Got it. Okay. That's what you're doing. You're doing, I mean, having a recovery high school, that's the epitome of 12-step work. What do you think, Clay?
I think you're absolutely right. And that's the first time that I've heard of something like that, addressing the substance abuse component along with integrating it into the high school and putting some academics behind it. What I would like to ask Elizabeth is going back just a little bit, because as addicts and people in recovery, we all seem to think that we're that superwoman or superman because I can identify with the Superman syndrome. What was it for you that, when did you reach your end? When did you know that you knew? Because I'm sure a lot of our listeners have attempted or maybe made a stab at recovery and relapsed and fell short and felt that their relapse was a sign of complete failure. What was it for you that made you know that you know and gave you the strength to persevere through?
All right, good question. I'll tell you, I got introduced to the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous when I was 15 years old. And what happened was when I was 15 and I would go into these meetings, I knew I was an addict. I knew it was not normal to like do heroin at 15 years old. I knew it. But I would listen to these people in the meetings. And at that point, everybody was a lot older than me. And I would suffer from the I haven't done that yet syndrome. And yet always means you're eligible too. And I would sit in the meetings and I would listen to these stories of these people sharing. And I would just sit there and I would say, I haven't done that yet. I haven't done that yet. I haven't done that yet. And basically, I identified myself out of the rooms because I felt that I could maybe try it a different way. I could maybe try it better, and then through several times of house arrest, and through several times of the judge instilling like the fear of God in me, the last time I went back out after having a little bit of clean time, I used for 11 and a half months. Mm-hmm. And during that 11 and a half month period, I really never had any nevers. I was always very willing to try anything, no matter what. I was always very willing to do it. My mom used to say to me, if everyone else jumped off a bridge, would you? Growing up, I would be like, no, Mom. And then one day everybody was jumping off this bridge and I was so scared, but you better believe I jumped off the bridge like everybody else. So, then my answer changed. My mom would then say, if everyone else jumped off a bridge, would you? And I would say yes, because I did it. Right. So it turned out June 10th, 1996 is my clean date. And I knew that day when I woke up that was it for me. I had so much pain those last few days that I was out there using. And the pain did not come from the drugs, or the pain did not come from not having enough drugs, or the pain did not come from, something bad that happened. The pain came from the fact that when I started using, It was to cover up my feelings of depression. It was to cover up my feelings of low self-esteem. It was to cover up my abandonment issues. It was to cover up the feelings of feeling unwanted. And at the end of my using those last few days, no matter what I used, I still felt those feelings. It was like the drugs were just no longer working. And like I said, I had tried everything to get clean, and I knew I wanted to be clean. In Narcotics Anonymous, they have this saying, keep coming back.
Right.
Every time you're in a meeting, you introduce yourself, they say, keep coming back. Whenever you're done speaking, they say, keep coming back. And I used to go to meetings as an adolescent, and I would do dope outside the meeting, and I would be in the meeting and I would throw up all over myself, or I would sit there and I would scratch myself, and nobody would ever tell me not to come back. They all kept saying, keep coming back. So it was the first place that I felt accepted and that I felt wanted and that I knew I wanted to be there, you know? And so on June 10th, 1996, I woke up that morning and I got dropped off at my parents' house. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's how powerful it was. I could tell you every single thing about the day. I got dropped off at my parents' house by a friend of mine because I decided that I didn't want to get high anymore. They had left the hotel room and dropped me off. And my mom was like, you can't stay here. You got to go. And I didn't want to go. And she's like, well, I'm going to call the police if you don't go. So I called my friends and I was like, all right, come back and get me. And they showed back up at the house to pick me up. And they looked at me. They're like, if we can leave you here, will you stay clean for the rest of your life? I was like, yes, I can stay clean for the rest of my life. They're like, all right, then we're just going to leave you here and just deal with whatever you got to deal with. So I was like, all right. And I don't know how I went to a Monday night meeting that night. It was at Pikesville Middle School. I actually went there for middle school, and I've had a million one-day key tags before. I did, but I knew no matter what that this was it in my heart. I knew it no matter what. It was so bad out there. It was the first time that I ever looked at myself in the mirror, and I made that pact with myself that I would commit suicide before ever getting high again. Like I would never pick up again without killing myself first. It was just horrible. And I remember that conversation with myself like it was yesterday, like that pain. You know, there's no pain like that pain at the end, you know. They call it that trap door with the bottom. I hit the bottom of the trap door. And I went to the school that night and I heard a few things, you know, that I never heard before. Like, number one, if I don't pick it up, it can't get in me.
That's right.
And I probably heard that a million times before. But this was like the first time that ever registered. They're like, has anybody ever held you down and like shot dope up in you because they wanted to give their stuff away for free?
Right.
Like, anyone ever held your nose back and poured alcohol down your throat because they wanted to share with you? You know, they're like, if you don't pick it up yourself, it's not going to get in you.
Yeah.
And like I said, I probably heard that a million times before, but you know, it just never registered. And then the other thing I heard is don't give up 5 minutes before the miracle happens.
Right.
And I probably, like I said, heard that a million times before too, but it never registered. Like literally, I would have to say these sayings to myself over and over and over and over again, probably for like my first 9 months clean. You know, don't quit 5 minutes before the miracle happens. A grateful addict doesn't get high. You know, just for today, I never have to use again. It can be just for 5 minutes. I never have to use again. It can be for just for this minute. I don't have to use again. Just for this hour, I don't have to use again. So like I said, I heard all these things before, but this was the first time I actually put myself out there after a meeting and said, okay, I'm going to be clean forever. Now what the hell do I do? Because, you know, nothing ever registered before, but it's because I wasn't ready before. You know, They say if you're ready, the teacher will appear.
Yes. You know, while you were sharing there, something came to my mind, and I want to throw it out there because I know that there have to be some people who go to church who are listening, or who will listen if not listening now. And Clay and Liz, tell me what you think about this. While you were just sharing, you said that I believe it was your mother told you that you had to go, you had to leave, or else she was going to call the police.
Mm-hmm.
You said that you were in a meeting and you were high, you were throwing up, but they didn't put you out. And I thought about this. What do you think that would happen in the average church today if you were in there on Sunday morning for morning worship service, the choir singing or the preacher's preaching, and you throw up in there? You're drunk in church,
Or you're scratching.
or you're scratching.
You're itching. You have that itch.
What do you think that you would be welcomed there, or would you get put out? Would you be treated like an outsider? And the reason why I'm asking that question is because they are both spiritual institutions. 12-step programs are spiritual programs. The church is a spiritual, supposed to be a spiritual program. What do you all think about that?
Well, I do think that a lot of times nowadays, a lot of churches do have pastors and do have community groups, though, that are familiar with substance abuse. So I do think that the church, like the pastors especially, or the youth ministry leaders, I feel like are people that parents would go to or an adolescent would go to for help. So I would think that they would understand, maybe they don't understand addiction, but they might understand that this person needs help. And then they might have another church person to talk to. So hopefully they're educated within themselves. But you bring up a really good point, actually educating the different church leaders about the different resources in their community, because the church is really like one of the first places a lot of people will go to seek help, especially for themselves or for a family member. And a lot of recovering addicts do go to the church. But what about those addicts trying to seek recovery that aren't exactly getting it, the ones that need the help? So I'm hoping that they would not be thrown out, so that way they can listen to the message, and then maybe somebody could pull them up afterwards that has some experience. Because I guarantee you, if you're in church and you're doing this, and you are high and you are throwing up, I do think another church member, if they are in recovery, they would identify with it, and then they would be able to come and talk to you, but definitely if the pastor or the youth leader for the ministries would be there as well, like that would be like really valuable, because it's somebody that they respect, loving them and caring for them and helping them, and letting them know it's okay. Like there is help. So I think that dynamic would actually be like really helpful for somebody.
Okay. What do you think, Clay?
I think that's a very interesting question, and I never really looked at it that way. And I know from my experience in the 12-step recovery rooms that just as we as recovering addicts have a stigma on us, more times than not, as addicts, we will have a stigma and we place it on the church. And we talk about the church being the institution of religion and dogma. And we talk about the church being that place where we're going to get kicked out. We're not going to be recognized. We're not going to receive that help. But like Elizabeth was talking about, I think that we have evolved enough to where the church as an institution has come to understand and be a little bit more open to the disease of addiction and alcoholism. And yes, I agree with Elizabeth. I believe that a lot of the practitioners at the church have an understanding of the disease of alcohol and substance use disorder. Maybe not too much the congregation, but at least the practitioners do. So I believe that the help is available.
Thank you. That's the reason why God gave me the vision to have this type of outreach ministry, so that we could get individuals' testimonies, their stories out there, so we could communicate to individuals that there is hope for you. Where is the hope? Not only for the average John Q. American citizen, but also for individuals in the church, the pastors, the deacons, the choir members, the ushers. Because I thought about that, because I believe you said your mom was going to call the police. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking to myself, if you're in a situation today, maybe you're in a restaurant and you're throwing up, you're high, and they call the police, would the police take you to jail, or would they try to get you into a treatment center? And I think that our society, especially with what's going on now, Black Lives Matter, also with the coronavirus, and many more people are using, many more people are relapsing. I think that every area of our society needs to know where to give people hope.
I agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Are there any questions? Has anybody chimed in with the question?
They just
What was the question?
just saying.
Oh, some statements.
Yeah, can you see that? You're amazing sister of recovery. Thank
Yeah.
you for your service, Mike Sauter. Yeah, Clay and I both know Mike. Yeah, we thank God for Mike, and this James Willis.
That's my good friend and cohort from Springfield College.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I believe that the more individuals need to understand substance abuse, what it is, an addiction, they also need to understand how mental health also pervades this arena of recovery. A lot of times people might think that individuals have a mental health problem rather than addiction, or an individual could be suffering from both. Have you come in contact with any individuals that down there in Boca Raton that are in the rooms or in recovery or trying to get in recovery, but have mental health issues, Liz?
I know few that have some mental health issues, but I guess they seek like outside therapy for their mental health issues. Like those things normally don't come up around here, mostly in meetings. So anybody that would have like bipolar disorder or be like have a disability, I think they see like an outside psychologist or outside professional versus in meetings, because in meetings they pretty much stick to like topics of like solutions and recovery. So yeah, they're not big. Yeah, I never really hear people talk that much about, they might say they go to therapy or they have a therapist, but not much talk about like the diagnosing process of dual addictions. You hear a lot about suicide and you hear a lot about overdoses here. So those are like the two like biggest like things. I mean, the suicide rate is amazing. And then again, the overdose rate.
You're speaking down at Boca Raton?
I think the overdose rate here, is bad. Delray Beach is like a capital, I guess, for like recovery communities. So I guess the overdose rate is really high there. And the relapse rate is really high.
How far are you from Miami?
Like 45 minutes.
Okay. And Fort Lauderdale?
About 20 minutes.
Okay. All right. So you're down there.
You're right there.
In deep drug territory.
You're in the South.
Right. But I moved here when I was clean for 12 years. As you know, I got clean in Baltimore. And so I moved here and I had 12 years clean. So I'm very far removed from that stuff here. What's funny is building the recovery high school, I'm just starting to Google adolescent recovery centers in order, to try to meet with them, to promote the school and to find out their numbers. And it's very disappointing actually to find out the lack of services they actually have here for adolescents, which I had no idea that it was a lack of services here. Like I thought by talking to all the other recovery schools across the country, they always say they get like their biggest amount of students by working with the local adolescent treatment centers. And I was like, wow, that's great. I'm going to call all the ones here. And you do a Google search for them. And a lot of them are out of business or a lot of them don't exist. And the biggest target that needs that treatment is adolescents. I mean, no offense to adults or anything like that, but it's out there for them. I mean, there's so many treatment centers out there for adults. There really is. But for adolescents, I guess people just don't want to deal with them. Or they just like push them off into something else. They're thinking, oh, they're under 18. It's their parents' problem.
Well, I know up here in Pinellas County, we have a few JARFs, juvenile assessment receiving facilities, but they just more or less address the crisis, and it's crisis stabilization as opposed to having some type of long-term treatment or recovery program treatment plan in place. So what you're doing down there and what you plan to do down there is really going to make a difference. I'm interested into your target population. Who are you going after?
Ninth grade through 12th grade, and they have to have a commitment to sobriety. We do have a recovery program. There is a relapse policy. So you do have to stay clean, and you want to work the 12 steps to be part of the school.
Now, will it encompass all drugs, stimulants, opiates, benzodiazepines, just any drug, right?
Yeah.
So there's no restriction. You don't have to have a certain criteria. The new marijuana, you know, the spice and all of that, it all qualifies.
Yes.
Right. That's wonderful.
The desire to stop using.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, where did you get this idea about the Recovery High School?
I started like thinking about it like 5 years ago. I saw a movie. And they talked about a recovery high school. So I started Googling recovery high schools. And at that time, I found out that there were 38 recovery high schools across the United States. There actually happens to be one in Florida, starting right now in Jacksonville, Florida. And they're actually opening up 2 more next year in Florida. And one of them is going to be in Orlando, and one of them is going to be in Tampa. I actually just had the pleasure of speaking with their directors last week when it was the National Association for Recovery High Schools Conference. And they're opening up one in Maryland next school year. It's going to be in Frederick.
Wow.
It's called the Phoenix Foundation.
Yeah.
So
I know Frederick well.
Yeah, so that's where it's going to be. So it's starting to like really take off.
It wasn't from high school either, was it?
No, it wasn't. Hey, Frederick, Hagerstown,
Yeah,
Jessup.
yeah. Right.
I know what you're saying.
Clay. Yeah. Clay was just mentioning some geographical locations where
higher learning,
a place of divergent education, divergent learning.
Yeah. I was born and raised in Boston, but I have my family originated from Baltimore, so I spent a great deal of my time in Baltimore.
You said time.
Yes. Yeah,
like
that's what I meant. Time, not my watch.
Right. Yeah. How is recovery different in Boca Raton in comparison to Baltimore, Liz?
There's a lot more clean time in Baltimore than there is in Boca. In Boca, how do I put this? Okay, so Florida in general, probably down in Boca, like where I live, it's a lot more seasonal. So over the summertime, we normally don't have as many people as we have during the winter time. So maybe more people with recovery come down in the wintertime than in the summertime. But the meetings are always a turnover. It's always the vans bringing the treatment centers here, which is great for the newcomers, but then they go back home after 30 days. So at a meeting about 100 people, you might have about 10 people that are there each week, and then the other 90 from the treatment centers are rotating. Whereas in Baltimore, I've been in the same home group for 24 years, and it's the same people for 24 years. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we get new home group members, but it's still our core group. Right. You know, and a lot of us moved away. And now because of COVID on Zoom, we literally have our home group back to where it was in the beginning of like 24 years ago. We're all on the Zoom meeting together. It's like the home group has never changed. But here with like the recovery centers, it's a lot.
Have you found that during this season of the COVID-19 that there have been more individuals who relapsed or OD in Boca Raton?
I've heard that there have been, but I have not seen it. I literally live in my little bubble here, but I do have 2 meetings here every week. I live in like a little development on the water here. And so every Tuesday night we have an 8:00 meeting. We have about 10 to 15 people every Tuesday night. And then every Friday night at 6:30, we have a meeting too. We do it underneath the tiki hut at the pool outside. And we have about 25 people at that meeting. So I actually love those 2 days a week because it's, right. You know, it's like at my house. I don't have to go anywhere. It's at the tiki hut outside. And it's great. So it's a lot of recovery, a lot of clean time. They always somebody brings like a newcomer with them. You know, somebody with a couple months clean. Other than that, I just do my home group on Sunday nights on Zoom. But last Sunday we had a pool party with everybody, you know, that comes to the Tuesday night meeting and the Friday night meeting. And this Saturday for 4th of July, we're doing like a barbecue, and then we're going to set off our own fireworks with the people that go to the meetings here. So I know here, like, we're definitely like managing, but everyone loves we call it the tiki meeting.
Yes.
Tuesday meeting, you know.
You know, ever since I've been down here in Florida, living down here since 2015, even though I have a lot of friends and all back in Baltimore, and I attend meetings on Zoom in Baltimore, the only time I go back to Baltimore is to visit, you know. Yeah, just to visit. But I love it. I love it down here in Florida. I can ride my motorcycle, you know, almost every day. And you're a motorcycle rider too.
Yes, with pink ape hangers and pink rims. It's a Harley 1200.
What?
It's really like badass, but it's like chick-fied badass.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to ride down there, or maybe meet you someplace, and maybe we can just take a ride to the place where they have barbecue ribs and some cornbread and some
That is not good for my diet. Remember, I paddleboard every day, so I'm in a bikini every day. That does not sound good for my diet. I need to eat like this.
Really? Listen, there's somebody listening today who has heard how you were getting high in junior high school, but now somehow or another you were led to a 12-step program before age 21. There's somebody out there who is where you were, and they want to stop using, but they don't know what to do. Give them some hope.
They can stop. I mean, all you really have to do to stop is stop. If you don't pick it up, it cannot get in you. You can go to a meeting, raise your hand and say, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I don't want to get high anymore. And people will come up to you after the meeting and they will hold on to you. They will take you to dinner. They'll stay at the diner with you up all night long. They will call you every day. The people out in recovery, like, they want to help you. Everybody is very friendly. Everyone reaches out to you. And if you find someone that doesn't, it's not you, it's them. And just keep reaching out, because recovery is free for the taking. When you pick up the basic text, you know how it says, like, give yourself a break, like you found this book for a reason. It's that.
Mhm.
Like, you really have to do is walk into a meeting and raise your hand, and like, you're never alone again.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, hope is in your name, isn't it, Elizabeth?
My middle name is Hope, which is funny. Growing up, I used to call myself Hopeless. I'd be like, Mom, why did you give me the middle name Hope? I'm hopeless. Now I love the middle name Hope.
Yeah, well,
So fitting. But yeah, when I was younger, I just didn't understand. I thought it was like a cruel joke.
Right.
Well, I think that you're a beautiful person. I can remember when I got clean back in 1988. God gave me a vision to do a community revival there in Baltimore, and I bought this tent and this big loudspeaker, and I was down on Fayette and Gilmore, Dope City, The Walking Dead, and the very first night that I had the revival, and the name of the ministry was Hope Alive Ministry.
I remember that.
Hope Alive Ministry. And this young lady, the first person that came and gave their life to Christ, her name was Hope. I'll never forget that. And I knew that that was a sign to me that I was on the right path and to keep coming back. I think that the statement "keep coming back" is an understatement. You may not understand it when you first hear it, but when we were using, nobody had to tell us to keep coming back to the dope man, or to keep coming back to Johnny Walker or Clay. You know anything about that?
Johnny Walker?
Keep coming back. About keep coming back.
Oh, absolutely. I know about Keep Coming Back. 25 years of active addiction and 9 times in prison. You know, I had to keep coming back. I heard that message, keep coming back. My first introduction to Narcotics Anonymous was in Baltimore in 1984, I believe. They was having a world convention at the Baltimore Civic Center.
Convention Center, yes. Civic Center then, yes.
Yeah. And I was in the parking lot stealing out of cars.
Really?
Yeah.
You
And,
weren't there for a meeting.
Yeah, I wasn't there for a meeting. And
Right.
I remember the police had said, what's your problem? And I said, man, I'm addicted to drugs. What do you think? He said, man, there's a whole convention in there full of recovering addicts, man. I said, well, let me out and let me go.
Did he do that?
He didn't let me go. But
He
you
didn't.
know, I found my way down here in Florida, and I was blessed through perseverance, man, to be introduced to the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, and we have a good, strong fellowship here in Bay Area, as we do with the Fun Coast and the surrounding communities. I just want to say and let our viewers know that recovery is possible, and we know and understand that through this COVID, that there's a lot of anxiety and depression and worry and increased drug use and increased alcohol use, and we just want to let you know that there's some hope out here. And I would like to give you a phone number. It's something we have here in Pinellas, and we kind of expanded on it. It used to be for 25 and under, and now we're dealing with adults. And this is the Mobile Crisis Response Team. And that number is 727-362-4424. And that's a 24-hour, 7 days a week mobile crisis response. That's 727-362-4424. And if you're ever in any kind of drama or stress or trauma, please give us a call.
Seven two seven 362.
4424.
All right.
Crisis response. And that's for mental health, substance abuse, or if you just need to reach out and talk to somebody. That's it.
I remember, well, I was at your 24-year anniversary a couple of weeks ago, and your parents were there.
Yes.
Yes. I would imagine that your mom has an altogether different attitude today, rather than to call the police to put you out.
Correct. But I have to tell you, I probably had like 20 years clean before I ever got a key to the house. And I think I had like 20 years clean before I was ever even allowed to sleep in their house again.
Really?
Yes. I think the first time I spent the night at their house unsupervised without them there, I had 20 years clean. I remember I flew home from Florida and they were going out of town. And normally they would never let me sleep there. We're going to be out of town. You can't stay here. And I remember I used to be like, Mom, I have like 18 years clean. She'd be like, it doesn't make a difference. You
Really?
once did this when you were like 14 years old. You did this when you were 15. You know, and she would always always. I swear. So yeah, like when I had 20 years clean about 4 years ago, it's probably the very first time I ever had a key to their house and the alarm code, and I spent the night unsupervised. It was like such a huge thing.
Yes. It sounds to me like your mom was keeping a record of wrongs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I was glad to see her and your father at your anniversary. Sometimes it takes longer for amends to really sink in. Really, and you know, the program says that there's some people that we cannot ever make direct amends to them. The only amends we can make is just by staying clean, staying in recovery.
Mom's down here now. My dad's flying in town tonight.
What did you say?
My mom's here now. My dad is flying in town tonight. He kept having mixed feelings about flying back and forth.
Right.
So he actually decided, so he is actually coming in tonight.
Now, will they be staying with you?
No, they have a house in Boynton Beach, Florida.
Oh.
My niece, Eliana, their favorite person in the entire world, because that's their one and only grandchild. She turns 4 years old on Sunday. So we're doing a family barbecue on Sunday. I have not seen my niece since the beginning of March because my sister's been on this quarantine life of absolutely no visitors. Like she has this little like bubble. Like I get a like, FaceTime. I would call her. I'd be like, I want to come over. No. I even got coronavirus tested. Now can I come over? No.
I want to throw something out there to help someone who is in recovery and who's having difficulties either getting to a meeting or staying in recovery during this COVID-19, or there's someone out there who wants to start the plan of recovery during this COVID-19. Clay, what could you, Elizabeth, share with those persons in our audience to help them to get through this time?
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Well, we have pop-up meetings, like I said. So, I have one here 2 nights a week. We know somebody else that has one night a week at their house. We know somebody else that has it 1 night a week at their house. Everyone's doing them outside. They are word of mouth, but for people that are in recovery, if they post on Facebook or if they post on their Instagram and they ask if anyone's having a pop-up meeting, I'm pretty sure somebody will respond. And I know there's that Facebook Zoom thing, like Zoom NA meetings on Facebook for each area. You could probably even post on there and say, I'm having a hard time with Zoom. This is my area. Are there any pop-up meetings here? And you could probably find a meeting. I know some of the churches here where their meetings are closed, they do let you hold the meeting outside in the parking lot. Mm-hmm. Whereas people are parking in their cars and using lawn chairs, next to their car to keep social distance. So if they're not working well with Zoom, there are options that are out there. Whereas if they want to seek them, they can. For anyone that wants to be in recovery, pretty much at this day and age, everyone knows at least one person in recovery. I would reach out to that one person that you do know and say, I would like help, and let that person start to guide you. If you don't have that one person, Facebook, put in Facebook search engine, Zoom NA meeting, and you will get all the Zoom codes for the NA meetings. And then you can join a meeting and then hit participants on the bottom of the Zoom screen and raise your virtual hand. And you can say you're new, or there's always a chat if you don't want to speak. You can always just write in the chat for those Zoom meetings and say that you're new. So don't think just because it's COVID and you're stuck at home that there's not options out there to help you, because there are, because people are still addicts, people are still using, and people are still staying clean. So all of those same options that were out there to help you before are still available. They just might be available in different forms, but the help is still available.
Right. And Zoom is one way of staying really, really safe with this COVID-19. However, here in Pinellas County, some of the restrictions are loosening up. And so we have a few churches that are allowing meetings to meet in their church. I know we have a Thursday night meeting and a Tuesday night meeting. We're thinking about and working on a Monday night meeting. We also have some outside meetings at the park underneath a pavilion where we could practice social distancing. And people seem to feel a little bit more comfortable out in the fresh air as opposed to being in a room or a building. So we understand, and we know and understand that too. They also have a NA clubhouse in Pinellas County called Terra Nova, and that has opened up. And they're having meetings on a regular basis there at 5:30, 8, and 10 o'clock. That's 7 nights a week. So that's a central location here in Bay Area where a lot of newcomers can find, at least like Elizabeth was talking about, to make that connection. More times than not, when you make that connection, recovery is available. I see a friend of mine's, Michael Sauter, he just posted for me to remember to Serenity Club up in Clearwater. They meet every night of the week except for Friday, I believe. If I'm wrong, Mike, I'm sure Mike will let me know. But it's every night of the week at 8 o'clock, with the exception of Friday. So in Pinellas County, we do have some meetings that are open.
And you can also go online and get the app, the NA app, and they'll show you where meetings are all over the country. Zoom meetings, telephone meetings, face-to-face meetings. let me just share this with everybody who's out there. If you're thinking about if you're thinking about getting clean, or if you're in recovery and you're having a hard time, my own personal experience, I recover the same way I used, the same kind of intensity. I never went out to get high and couldn't find a drug. Never went out to get a drink, couldn't get a drink, and said, "Oh my goodness, it's late. I can't get a drink. I can't find my drug. I'm going to go on home." No, I searched it out until I found it. I'm quite sure that Elizabeth and Clay can substantiate to what I'm saying. If you recover, if you seek out meetings the same way you sort out your drug of choice, you'll find a meeting. You'll find a way to stay clean. You'll find a way to get clean. You want to have some closing remarks, Elizabeth?
I just want to say that it's worth it. It's 100% worth staying clean. Your life, my life, it will be beyond your wildest dreams. You owe it to yourself. Give yourself a break and do it. Your misery can be refunded to you. I love that saying.
Right.
You don't like your life staying clean, you can always go back to your misery. But give yourself a break and do it. It's 100% worth it. The most rewarding thing that'll ever happen to you.
And Elizabeth, I remember when you came in to 12-Step Fellowship. From there to how you're living now is no comparison. You
No,
said
not at all.
you're living right on the water, aren't you?
Yes.
And I think, and you're out there. You said you're paddleboarding every day.
Yeah.
And you're riding a Harley.
Yeah. Paddleboard a lot.
Living the dream.
So
Boating.
that's right. You're living the dream. And
I got to swim with alligators. Let's not forget that. I know you've seen those pictures.
We love
I got to deal with them. I got to deal with them in the pond in my backyard. Yeah. Any closing remarks, Brother Clay?
Yes. I would just like to say that no matter what obstacles you're facing in your active addiction or in your trials and tribulations, that finding the rooms of recovery, you can turn your life around. And this is not something that I heard. This is something that I've experienced. 25 years of active addiction, 9 times in prison, have been able to go back and get executive orders of clemencies, forgiveness for all my felony convictions, level 2 exemptions, go back to school, and for an addict like me to get his master's degree and studying for his LMHC, and just being an addiction professional. And the thing about having those credentials, it really doesn't matter. I attend meetings every day. I still have sponsees. I have a sponsor. I work steps. And I still just as enthusiastic about my recovery today as I am when I first came in.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I tell people, I started this in Baltimore. I said, treat me like the dope man, only call me the hope man.
I love that.
That's right. Because the dope man always gets respect, except when he's being robbed. But that's because he gets robbed because he's got something that other people want. I have something that people want today. It's recovery. So I give it away because we've learned in the program you have to give it away to keep it.
In order to keep it.
That's right. And I'm living the best life today. What God has done, he's taken my greatest misery and turned it around to make it my greatest ministry. And so no matter where you are today, whether your name is Clay, whether your name is Elizabeth, once you make a decision, like Elizabeth said in the beginning, it may sound simple, but once you make a decision to stop, once you make that decision, God will put people in your life to help you stay on the path, but it's only just for the day. I want to thank you, Elizabeth, for taking up your time and coming and sharing some hope. Thanks, Clay, for being.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and I wish you all the luck on your adventure with the school.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
That's wonderful. And also, I want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July this coming Saturday. Be safe, practice social distancing, and remember that this is Saturday is my 39th wedding anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Yes.
How'd you put up with it so much, Pia?
You know she's nearby. You want to show your face just for a minute? This is our producer, This is our producer. She just showed her face for a minute. And so I love her more today than I did when I married her. But no matter, but you got to put your time in, whether or not it's marriage or whether or not it's in recovery or working a job. The more you put in, the more you get out.
Absolutely.
And those of you all who are listening, if you'd like to get in contact with me to get my book, you can go right on. You can go to Amazon, or you can call me or write to me, and I can give it to you not at $11.95 but $7.95. This book entails my life, and also it has some spiritual principles on how to help someone to recover. It also has some interesting stories in there about some places that I've been, also from Baltimore to Florida, and I won't name all of them right now. But I'd like for you to give me a call if you like prayer. Give me a call 443-250-9635. I also do weddings because I'm an ordained minister, even though I'm in recovery and God has blessed me. Give me a call 443-250-9635. Or if you want to have counseling, we do that as well. But one of the things that I always want to do, and that is, remember, no matter what's going on with you today, there is hope for you. I'm the Hope Doctor. Have a great day.